Alongside the Duviri Paradox update, we also got a few interesting weapons. And today, we're gonna be having a closer look at the Cinta. This is a Nataruk-like bow with some rather interesting possibilities. As always, my name is Leyzar, and I got a couple of builds lined up. Something cheap, affordable, something that a newer player can get into. But fear not, my veteran friends, we also got the endgame setup. Galvanized mods, prime mods, we're gonna be taking this one to Steel Path, basically put it through the ringer. That said though, please bear in mind that my builds and guides usually take a more new player friendly tone. I'm gonna be taking my time and explaining whatever I feel is necessary for newer Tenno. So in case you're a vet and you already know most of this stuff, you can either skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Cinta. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped. And for that, just a couple of our regular free shots. The Cinta is a brand new bow introduced to Warframe with the Duviri expansion, and this one can be fired in 3 different ways. First of all, you got your quick shot attack. You can try and spam this one. It actually deals a decent amount of damage and has low critical chance and low status chance. The second way you can fire the bow is to fully charge it, like so, and then release the shot. You see how the projectile changes in appearance? The projectiles on this one don't really act like a normal bow, and unfortunately for this one there's no visual cue when you fully charge it. It was supposed to be a little ching circle thing at the end of the arrow, but that's not important. Fully charging it will get you more damage, more critical chance, more critical damage, and more status chance. By all intents and purposes, the most amount of damage out of a single projectile, single target speaking, is to fully charge this puppy back. And as you can see, the actual charge rate is a bit painful to say the least. But there's a third way to charge and fire this weapon. There's a perfect shot mechanic that was introduced to Warframe with the new war, and that's the perfect shot mechanic. Take a look at my crosshairs. Right at the end of the charge, I have a small window that I can release the shot and I can get additional effects for my projectile. And the additional effects? Infinite body punch through. Not only that, the projectile becomes a rather thick boy. How thick? 3-meter radius. Actually, it's quite huge. Not only that, it has infinite body punch through, but it also has guaranteed knockback on everybody all of the time. Not an impact proc, mind you, which is good or bad depending on your point of view, but this one will be consistently knocking down your targets. Not overguard enemies, aka Eximus enemies. Those are still immune to the knockdown of the bow. I would recommend you start getting used to this perfect shot mechanic. It does reward skilled play. Can this weapon headshot? Should I be going for headshots or just go for body shots? And the answer is yes, the weapon can headshot. It does have its headshot multiplier enabled, including the bonus critical multiplier. So bear that one in mind. This is not really an AoE weapon per se. This is not an explosive weapon per se. This is just a fat projectile. But upon contact, take a look at that. Hold that. Isn't that an explosion? That's an explosion, right? Well, it certainly looks like an explosion, but it doesn't act like one. Just like the Tenant Arcaplasmor or the regular Arcaplasmor, upon contact, it looks like that projectile detonates, but in all actuality, it's just a visual effect. So bear that one in mind. Now, let's have a closer look at stats to see exactly what we're dealing with. Mod capacity 30 out of 30 as soon as you build the Cinta, and you might be wondering, alright dude, I've seen enough, I want to play with this bow, how do I get it? Well, you gotta head on over to Duviri and do owl puzzles. What the hell is that? Link in the cards right now for more detail on how to do owl puzzles. Subjectively speaking, they were a whole lot of fun. Ammo doesn't matter on this one, you're gonna be having yourself plenty of ammo. Charge rate is 1.5, which is pain and suffering. And pain, so one fire rate mod will have to exist on this weapon. Magazine of 1 silent. This one is silent opposed to the Nataruk. Did you see that? Punch through by default of 2 meters. Of course, this 2 meters will be applying to the quick shot and the charge shot, since the perfect shot will be having infinite body punch through and will only stop in impassable objects such as walls. The projectile can also go through walls if you mod normal punch through, however. More of it. Get something like 4 or 5 meters in there. Reload 0.6. Now, this is a bit funky when it comes to bows. This represents the time it takes the Warframe to pull another arrow from the quiver, and oddly enough is kind of slow on the Cinta. This is a great bow or a long bow, depending on how you want to call it. Riven this bow. 1 little ball out of 5 little balls. If you're a newer player coming into the game, I don't want you to bother with these, because essentially these rivens are meant to either spruce up old weapons which are not powerful anymore or popular anymore, or simply get a endgame player the absolute most amount of damage out of a build. With a Riven Dispo of 1 out of 5, that means that the weapon is either super popular or brand new. In the case of the Cinta, it is, by all intents and purposes, brand new. Ribbons kind of look like this, and honestly, they are not worth it at this time. I couldn't even roll this one because it's bugged. I cannot select it to actually put some Kuva into it. So, there you go. The minimum mastery rank for ribbons, if you're interested, however, is 8. And you're gonna have to spend a whole lot of plat for a brand new Cinta ribbon. Trigger charge, of course. Now, let's take a look at the actual free types of shots. Quick shot, how much damage? 450. Fully charged shot, how much damage? 800. So that's about an 80% increase. 20% critical chance on the quick shot, 36% on the charge shot. Status chance 30% versus 32%, and the critical multiplier 2x versus 3x. These are the normal shots, and as you can see, again, the most amount of damage coming from that charge shot. The damage is going to be puncture and a bit of slash. Most of the damage is puncture, which will be dealing extra damage to heavily armored targets, up to 50-75%, something of the sort. Finally, the perfect shot. Now, the perfect shot, critical chance and critical multiplier are a tad disappointing on this one. Only 20% and a 2x multiplier, which is basically the same as your quick shot. 44% status chance, however, and the damage is significantly higher at 600 heat damage, exclusively heat damage. So you will be able to combine this heat if you want to with another element and make an elemental combo with a single mod. Now, there's one little tidbit of information which I left out kind of on purpose. This weapon has one more trick which I didn't show you because at the current time it's bugged. It can do a secondary fire mode. Yeah, that the free shot types weren't enough. If you press your secondary fire, I'm not sure what you press on console, I think it's right stick, but on PC, if you press by default your middle mouse button, like so, it does this strange animation when the Warframe takes a really long, hard look at its arrow. And now if you fire the weapon, it does this. Dude, that looks so cool. Legolas moves. If somebody's up close to me, I switch the secondary, and by the time I switch the secondary fire mode, I'm not dead, and I'm gonna do this backflip, and I can even do it in the air. It worked. Hold on. There you go. I can even do it in the air, and look how cool that is. One issue, though. Mods don't take to the secondary fire mode. What I mean by that is, it doesn't really matter how I mod the weapon, this bloody thing never really does a whole lot of damage. Now, of course, this can be by default. It can be the developer intention just to have a cool little this thing. But this is Warframe. You do this. Or this. Or, you know, my favorite backflip or midair or whatever you want. This, unfortunately, my friends, currently it's not really usable. It's just a cool thing, and hopefully it will be fixed if the developer wants us to use it. If not, we'll just simply not use it. And I do believe, my friends, that is pretty much it. Next, let's have a look at a standard introductory level setup for the Cinta. Damage from France with Serration, multi-shot with split chamber, critical chance and critical damage through the use of critical delay as well as vital sense. Now, critical delay is a corrupted mod. It gives you a chunk of something, but also takes away a bit of something as well. Careful with fire rate mods on this one, plus or minus, because it's x2 for bows. Now, you should really get the farming corrupted mods. In case you never saw one before, trust me, there are so many awesome corrupted mods in Warframe, and you're gonna need them for your primary builds, secondary builds, Warframe builds. You gotta get the farming, and if you don't know how to, look at the cards right now for a full and detailed guide on that. Vile Accelerashu is also one of them corrupted mods that you will need. Take a look at this one, 180% fire rate. Now I say that because it takes 2 for both. Now the damage negative over there only takes away 15% from your serration. It doesn't fully work like that, but that's the best way to think about it. So essentially the damage negative on Vile Acceleration is not a big deal. Now I'm gonna pause and talk about fire rate on a bow such as the Cinta or the Nataruk. The most important thing you can do is add or subtract fire rate depending on how comfortable you feel with the weapon. This will depend on not only your build, but your connection, how laggy it is, how responsive it is, your frames, how many frames you're actually seeing per second. So when it comes to fire rate, I modded the weapon at a level where I am comfortable with consistently getting those perfect shots if I need to get the perfect shots. So when it comes to fire rate, play around with the following mods. You got yourself, first of all, Vile Acceleration, of course, but you also got Vigilante Fervor at 45% speed trigger. Yes, these two together, critical delay and Vile Acceleration, will be meaning a charge rate of 0.62. I am comfortable at this level. If not, play around with these and see which fire rate will be more comfortable to you. This being a critical weapon, kind of, 100 munitions is a no-brainer. This is one of the most powerful primary mods in the game. You can get it by farming overall on Cetus, or you can trade with people. Honestly, you shouldn't be paying any plat for this one. It's not an expensive mod, despite the fact that it's very powerful in the game. And the color of the mods, where they be gold, silver, white, or whatever else, should never be an indication of how powerful a mod is on a specific build, only what type of mod it is, and its actual perceived rarity. Two 60-60 mods will be following vital damage on the weapon with Rhyme Rounds and Malignant Force. Easy to farm from Corrupted Vor in the Void alongside all of the rest of the 60-60 Toxin mods except the Heavy Weapon 1 or Archon 1 and Rhyme Rounds that can be obtained by doing spy missions. Now if you're a bit newer to Warframe and you're having trouble doing spy missions, trust me, I get it, they were the bane of my existence while I was Mastery Rank 6, 7, 10, something of the sort. I got guides on all of the relevant spy missions. All you gotta do is search. Now, let's test out the weapon and see how she performs. Now tell me, my friends, what would be appropriate for an MR6 weapon, huh? What exactly? Level 15,000, bruh? Technically, no. For an MR6 weapon, we're gonna go for level 50, 60s. Level 50, 60s, which are already much higher than the MR 5, 6, 7, 8 players should see. We're gonna be spawning in Corrupted Heavy Goons, as well as Exogogstad. But first, we're gonna kill the level 120s, then we're gonna bring it down to 50. I think this is a whole lot more accurate for a standard introductory level build. And we're gonna fire the weapon in all three fire modes. First of all, the first fire mode, perfect shot. Beautiful. Look at the damage, look at the damage. Fantastic, my friends. Quick shot, boom. It's a quick shot, boom, boom. No proc, no GG, sadly. As you can see, the weapon is plenty capable of taking out target after target, but what if I want to use that AoE function, huh? Considering how fat this projectile is, and considering that it does have a headshot multiplier, I'm gonna try to get a headshot. So I'm gonna try to aim like that. These are Exogogstad. Exogogstad have a lot more EHP than Corrupted Heavy Goons, and you're gonna meet them in Railjack. Now, obviously, these are a bit more tougher than the MR5, 6 player will see, but it serves to prove a point. This is the kind of damage you can expect out of the weapon. I mean, it's gonna be clearing house rather easily, and I love that perfect shot mechanic that absolutely annihilates whatever stands before it. But it should be said, if you're trying to kill a target, X1, go for the fully charged shot as it will be dealing more. Now, my friends, this concludes the new player portion. One last thing that I do want to mention, you see the empty Arcane and the Exila slot. If you enjoy this style of weapon and you want to keep on playing with it, then and only then you should unlock these. In the Exila slot, usually we get mods that increase the usability of a weapon. Now, usability is damage, but it's highly subjective to the user, so it's not really as easily quantifiable as, hey, more damage, more crit chance, etc, etc. For example, I feel very comfortable with terminal velocity, 60% projectile flight speed. This will make the projectile a whole lot quicker, making it easier for me to know when it gets to where I wanted it to go within a shorter amount of time, if that makes any sorts of sense. This is a option you can go for. Another one is to go for stabilizer, but honestly, the weapon has no recoil whatsoever. You can also use this one to further reduce the fire rate of the weapon. If it's too fast in your mod combination, you can try something like Wild Precision. While the minus recoil really isn't gonna do much, the minus fire rate will help you out, theoretically at least. Now, my friends, let's see a maxed out setup. Galvanized chamber, a must-have, but wait, there's more. Split flights actually works on this weapon. And it was the first time since we got this stupid mod, that I legitimately wanted to put both of them on a weapon. Split flights work, and I'm gonna offer you two variations on your endgame setup, depending on what kind of player you are. Hold on, galvanized aptitude AoE weapon. We went over this already. It's not really an AoE weapon per se. So for the same reason this one works on the Tenant Arcaplasmor or the Arcaplasmor, it's working on the Cinta as well. Yes, you are getting your damage benefit on the AoE shots or the perfect shots. 100 munitions, because of course with the lay vital sense, essentially the same. We're gonna test out the weapon like so, then we're gonna make a few changes here and there. The most important part, the new part to Warframe, is Longbow Sharpshot. Check this one out. Rank 5 on headshot. Gain plus 300% damage on your next shot. Now this arcane caused a bit of confusion. Oh, is it additive? Is it multiplicative? You need to try to stop thinking of bonuses from arcanes that just multiplicative or additive. What this one actually does from a formula perspective is take the damage that comes out of your weapon, everything, yes, that comes out of your weapon, then adds a plus, then takes your damage and multiplies it by 3. So in total, you're going to be getting 4x. You get how that one works. This one is vastly superior to your primary Merciless or your primary Deadhead by a lot, but it's going to be reliant on you and can you get consistent headshots. For the initial build, we're going to be going with this one. So make sure I don't have any corrosive projection, any schools, void schools that would skew my test result. Tonight will be fine. And we're going to pump up the level to something a bit more appropriate. What is more appropriate for a level? It's still MR6, but still this is the end game setup. Let's go with the standard 120 since this is the normal test. We're going to take out a few of the corrupted heavy goons and then we're going to go for the Exogog. That's a normal headshot. I want to show you the chart shot. Look at the damage. The first one was without the 4x. The second one is with the 4x. So you see what kind of damage difference you have. And you see that there was no proc whatsoever when it comes to slash. Not a single goddamn slash. But the more I stack, the more the weapon becomes absolutely insane. That 4x is beautiful. I just want to show you a goddamn proc. Proc, you silly thing. I'm getting the crits, which is unlucky with the proc. That was 626,000 bleed without a Bane mod. I didn't even notice if it had vital proc though, but 626,000 from 2 procs. Target didn't even get to be alive to get procced. This is the kind of power of that X4 multiplier. This is not the Cinta per se. Oh my god, I would love to see that proc on that guy. This is the multiplier from that beautiful, beautiful Arcane. But of course, I know what you're saying. Do the perfect shot, super shot, whatever. This shot. And as before, it will depend on what procs do you get on your targets. If you manage to get a slash, fantastic. Don't get a slash, not as fantastic. And that's pretty much how the weapon performs. Now I'm going to spawn again and I'm going to show you how easy or how hard it is to actually keep up that X4. Because essentially you want headshots all the time, and considering how fat my projectile is, what I want to do is graze the head of enemies. First let's get a solid headshot and then let's try to graze the heads of enemies to see how well I'm actually at keeping that headshot multiplier up. Got it a couple of times, not bad, and the damage, well, it completely annihilated them, so there is that to bear in mind. Now, let's go one more time, activate that thing. There we go. And now try to get as many headshots as humanly possible. How's that? How's that for damage, my friends, huh? Stand still. And... Now, of course, getting consistent headshots can be a bit difficult, especially when your targets are not standing still. So if you want something a bit more indulgent, let's say, something that is not as punishing, we can change the build a bit. But first, let's do one more time. That's the multi, that's the multi. This is the kind of damage you can expect out of this weapon. It's not bad at all, especially considering that it is full-blown AoE. Let's see if I can aim it like this. There will be times when that headshot multiplier is simply not present, and if that happens, then well, the Arcane becomes useless. So if you're not comfortable with a solution such as this, which will in fact get you the most amount of damage, what you can do is change a couple of things around, and here's what I would do. First of all, from Longbow Sharpshot, you can go with something like Merciless. Yes, Merciless is the most easiest to use, the most consistent out of all the damage Arcanes. Unfortunately, this is a damage increase much akin to Serration. As you don't see it here, I don't really need Serration on the weapon because I had Galvanized Aptitude. And then we can go with the following, which is a whole lot of fun: Split Flights instead of Galvanized Chamber. Because at the end of the day, this one can, keyword can, offer you a whole lot more. And we can go like so. Fire in the hole, as they might say. No more headshots, I'm just going for body shots. I'm not worried about it, man. I'm getting consistent, and I mean consistent applications of that, of the Split Flights. Take a look at the buff bar, you can see it there. Split Flights X4. Beautiful multi-shot. How does it look? Look. Look at all that multi-shot. Look at all that glorious multi-shot. And you know what? For close range combat, it's more than plenty. So this is another way you can go about the weapon. Is it as powerful, more powerful, etc.? No, there's nothing more powerful than getting that X4 on the weapon and then getting your headshot. But if that's asking too much, then forget about it and go for something like this. Another thing that we can take into account, if you're going for a steel path setup like we're going to be going next, you might drop the 260-60 mods. If you drop the 260 mods and get vital from your secondary or your Kavat, let's say, Kavat, Panzerful Profiler, and that frees up 2 mod slots. With 2 mod slots, I can do something like Bane of the something if I want to. Now, Bane mods thankfully are starting to fall from grace, because if you're going random in the Duviri experience, Bane mods aren't really going to be applying in Steel Path Circuit except to certain enemies, so it's no longer a smart idea. But for regular Steel Path, you can definitely go for a Bane mod. In the last slot, well, you can add more critical chance, more critical damage, whatever you feel is worth it. You can even add Galvanized Scope, and normally I don't advocate for this one. If you're gonna be going for the headshot build, Galvanized Scope is a fantastic idea as long as you can keep it up. The problem with Galvanized Scope is the way that these stacks actually drop from it, making it a little bit fuzzy. But more critical chance, of course, is gonna help you a whole lot more with Hunter munitions. If you're not comfortable with Galvanized Scope, you can use something like Flat Damage from Serration, and I'm gonna go like so. One last thing before we're off the Steel Path. Prime Firestorm. Hold on, does that mean bigger, fatter projectile? Well, no, not exactly, because this one doesn't really have any effect on the weapon, and it's not an explosive weapon, it's not supposed to. Honestly, I don't even know why DE lets us put this one on. So we're gonna go like so. Welcome to the Void, my friends. Now let's see what the weapon can do in Steel Path. I'm gonna get close to the capture target. Again, when you're faced with a single target, the most amount of damage you can do is gonna be by a charge shot. But as soon as you have multiple targets around you, make sure you switch to that all-important perfect shot. So fully charged shot, more for single target damage, and this shot, the perfect charge shot, better for groups of enemies, obviously. Oh, like firing down a corridor, like so. This is the kind of performance you can expect out of the weapon. Essentially, it clears corridors upon corridors of enemy, or you can go for a single shot like this. I'm looking for more and more enemies, but unfortunately not a whole lot have spawned at this time, but you can still see what the weapon is capable of, and you can still keep track of how often am I getting that headshot multiplier, how often am I getting that 4x on my targets. This weapon can use split flights. It was odd to me that they allowed us to do it, and I don't know if they're gonna keep it that way. It doesn't make the weapon super ultra powerful, let's get that out of the way, but it is something super cool that you can play with. Now, my friends, that's pretty much it for Steel Path performance. I don't know what else to show you. The weapon absolutely rocks, no questions about it. Torment showed up, so that's fantastic for the test, because Torment is really quick moving, so that will mean that it's gonna be a bit harder for me to get my headshots on. I'm gonna try to do exclusively perfect shots on him, so you can see exactly what kind of damage you're expecting from the weapon. Shield is out. Stop moving so much. How am I supposed to headshot you if you move so much? There you go. You got your headshot on, your 4x bonus there. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Okay, so he died to a proc, and that's pretty much it. That's the kind of performance you can expect when dealing with an Acolyte. Again, I recommend you aim well above enemy's heads if you want to get that Miami 4x. Now, Revenant is one of the most powerful Warframes in the game. I highly recommend him. But if we switch over to Mirage, what I'm also going to be doing is going for a bit more AoE. Corrosive Projection is a no-brainer versus heavily armored targets, but this shouldn't really be a mandatory mod. Simply pick the aura that works best for your build. So if you need Growing Power, go for Growing Power. Just an example. When it comes to Arcanes, these are a lot more impactful, my friends. Arcane Avenger R5 on damage, 21% chance for plus 45% critical chance for 12 seconds. This one will help the bow greatly, because with that 45%, considering the stats on my weapon right now, I'm finally gonna be going to guaranteed crit even on quick shot and perfect shot, more important. So bonus additive critical chance effects are extremely important for the weapon. As for your second Arcane, because I forgot about this one, Fire Rate is definitely a smart idea. Arcane Acceleration, 90%, fantastic, and that way you cannot mod the weapon for Fire Rate, freeing up a mod slot. Keep in mind, the most important thing about Fire Rate is not to plow on as much as you can, simply to get comfortable to release those perfect shots as often as you can. But again, honestly, your primary Arcane should always be used for your Warframe, so we're gonna be going like so. I don't really want to mess with the Fire Rate now that I kinda am getting used to the weapon. Pump up the level to as high as I can unpause the enemy so they can hit me and I can get my glorious buffs. Now, my friends, let's see how many perfect shots we can get. Activate Empower for Mirage and her free ability Eclipse for an absolutely sky-high damage increase, and one more time for the best animation in Warframe, forever so lovely, clones. Beautifully, beautifully. You know what? I will admit something, it's a whole lot more fun to play like this and not have to worry about getting headshots, because look, essentially I am coloring the screen together with my clones. Absolutely freaking phenomenal. But of course, for a single target attack, just simply go for that headshot. One more time for fun, let's get that AoE going. Beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. Now, I would recommend you also have a look at the Nataruk, not because it might be better or worse than this weapon, simply because it's in the same vein, the same style of weapon. So if you enjoy playing with something like this, you're gonna be loving the Nataruk as well. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe only if you enjoy the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. Also in the comment section down below, tell me what kind of content would you like to see next. I would like to see this weapon build or that weapon build, and so on and so forth. You can also catch me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. But if you love the content and you want to help me keep making it, consider supporting us via Patreon. There's going to be a link in the upper right portion of the screen right about now. I'll catch you guys in the next one.